What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another edition of OTBN 365. And today's show, I got a special guest with me, by the way. My man, the VP of the Off the Ball Network, the host of the Up in Flames podcast. My guy, he's all over the place, talking college football, NFL, basketball, everything. Jack of all trades. Mo Murphy, what's going on, brother?
What's up, bro? It's been a minute, man. Like it's really been a minute. I've really been hitting the college football talk heavy. Haven't talked NFL as much as I would like to, but still getting to it. Basketball season's coming up, college, NBA. So it's like, I enjoyed kind of a summer off essentially because I knew it was going to be come September, it was going to be back to the grind for the next 6 to 8 months. But it's always good being on with you, bro. It's been a minute. It has been a minute. We talk all the time, but doing shows together sometimes become a rarity with us doing so much other stuff.
Yeah, and I said this when Jeff hopped on yesterday on Overreaction. I haven't done anything with Jeff in a minute, so obviously I got a lot more time. So that's good to do some shows. So I've been trying to crank out some shows and all that, and just hustling and busting for the network, try to get us to where we want to be. But always a pleasure to chop it up with you, and let's get into it. Let's get right into it. Obviously, we talked a lot about the games during the week for Sunday, but obviously Monday Night Football. 2 games we had a doubleheader, blowouts. Essentially, was the name of is the title of Monday night games. Both games just absolutely got out of hand, especially the Bills Titans. That one was just an absolute abomination by the Titans. They just absolutely laid an egg, and the Bills continued their dominance. Like, they look like world beaters right now. Like, and we've talked about the Bills going into the season, how they're the favorites and all that, and we just needed to see that. And first 2 weeks, Mo, they laying on it. They laid it on the defending Super Bowl champions, and they beat the team that was the number 1 seed last year in the Titans. Like, they gave it to them. Like, they may have ended their season, I know it was just 2 games in, but they made them look absolutely small. I mean, Tannehill had 2 interceptions, only for like 115 yards, something like that, and Derrick Henry only had 25 yards rushing. The defense played great. They had a pick 6. Josh Allen 4 touchdowns. Diggs 12 for $148, 3 touchdowns. Just absolutely dominant performance. So just give me your take on this game.
So let me ask you a question. Are the Bills your favorite to win the Super Bowl, and is Josh Allen your favorite for MVP right now? And was that the case before the season?
That was my case last year too. I picked the Bills and Josh Allen to win MVP, and I went with it again. It just looks like, if we're just gonna overreact in a way, like, I mean, how can you not think that they're the best team in football and they're the favorites? They're good at every level.
They're good
at every level of the offensive lines can be a little shaky, but they make up with Josh Allen. Run game's getting a little bit better. Singletary and Moss, but they have weapons. The defense on all 3 levels is really good.
Yeah,
they turn the ball over. They got Von Miller, who is a wrecker and back-to-back Super Bowl champion. He's Gregory Rousseau, my Hurricane. He's had a few sacks start off the season. Tremaine Edmonds. They got a bunch of guys in the secondary that are just ballers too. They're just the most complete team in football.
Yeah, for me, just before we talk about the game, how I am is like, I see things a certain way. And like, I feel like this is a league, especially the NFL too. Like, basketball is a little more individual. Like, if you're a great player, you can earn your respect, I think, a little bit faster. Where, like, I still think the Bills are, to me, they're 1 year away. And I think they could prove it. Like, I think if they win the Super Bowl, they prove it to me. But I think they got to prove something. Like, I just felt like everybody was a little too high on them. They had to show it. And right now they're showing it, so they're earning that respect. But, you had to have made an AFC championship game. Like, we just handed the Bills the throne of, like, you're the favorites. You got the MVP favorite. And they are playing like it through 2 games. They are playing like it through 2 games, but you know me, I'm just like, I feel like you got to earn it, especially in this league. And like, that's why I don't jump off. Like, I still think the Chiefs, like I'm high on the Chiefs still to this day. I think Mahomes is still the best quarterback. It's close. If you like Josh Allen over Mahomes, that's fine. I'm not going to keep like arguing about it. But when I watched the Bills last night, Josh Allen isn't the guy that impressed me. As impressive as he was, like, I think this is just, it's normal for Josh Allen. Like, I think we're hitting a point where, like, Josh Allen is having those Mahomes performances. Like, this is normal. Throwing 4 touchdowns and 300 plus yards. Like, we expect that. So when he does it, it just keeps validating, like, Josh Allen is top 3 quarterback in the league. Like, that's all it did for me is like, okay, it validated he's a top 3 quarterback in the league. Stephon Diggs, though, as great as he is, no, he's never considered the best wide receiver, right? He's in most people's top 5. He's in my top 5.
I think that's got to change.
But I still won't necessarily say he's the best, not yet. But when it's top 5, like think about in the past 2 years, guys who have came and passed Stephon Diggs in people's top 5. Like Justin Jefferson comes along. Now they go into like last year saying he's better because he had an amazing rookie year, and then we like throw Jamar Chase in there because of a hot year. But like, bro, Stephon Diggs has gotten better and better every year of his career.
His route running.
You take away Gabriel Davis last night. Oh, it's superb. He's arguably top 3 route runner in the NFL, period. Him, Devontae Adams, and I still think Amari Cooper is one of the best route runners in Keenan Allen. Like, route runners, those are guys like I know they'll get open no matter what. Cooper Kupp's in that conversation too. But Stephon Diggs, to me, is the highlight. And, you know, when we talked about Offensive Player of the Week, like, obviously is like Tua has to get it when you throw 6 touchdowns, almost 500 yards. But, like, if there was a guy that was going to have a performance that could have taken it away, I think 12 catches, 148 yards, and 3 touchdowns by a wide receiver was a good enough individual performance to make that argument. But I get it. When a quarterback throws for almost 500 yards and 6 touchdowns, I get it. He's going to get it. I'm just saying I didn't even expect that we would have a performance crazy enough to think that, like, Tua doesn't hands down win it this week. And Stephon Diggs did it. No Gabe Davis, so you felt like the Tennessee Titans were going to be able to lock in on Stephon Diggs, and that run game wasn't that good yesterday. Josh Allen, once again, was the leading rusher, which that still is the one part about the Bills that concerns me is, like, yes, they still look a little better, but Josh Allen remains the leading rusher, and he's not Lamar Jackson. He can run the ball, but he's not a run-first quarterback, so he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not even Jalen Hurts with his legs, like, where some plays running is an option first before throwing if the play breaks down very quickly. But, bro, the Bills are just good. Like, they're a great team. I mean, they are definitely one of the favorites to come out the AFC. We could see it. I hope this year we actually get the AFC Championship showdown of the Bills versus Chiefs. Like, that's what I'm praying for. Like, I want them to play. We got to see it in the second round, and it was like, unfortunately, those were the 2 best teams. To me in the AFC, I know the Bengals play really well, but up to that point, like, one of those teams had to lose prior to the AFC Championship. But it's like the Bills didn't impress me last night. Like, they did what I thought they would do, essentially. Like, I just feel like they're a dominant team. The Titans are falling apart. The Bills are a great team, but yeah, bro, I don't know. It's just like you praise the Bills, but it's like this is what they're gonna do from here on out. Are they gonna blow teams out like this? No, they're gonna play better teams. But like this 4 touchdown performance is a regular for Josh Allen. Over 100 yards is probably expected for Stephon Diggs and a touchdown at this point. Like, he's a double-digit touchdown guy, probably 1,500 yards this year. Maybe even goes 16, 17, or has a Cooper.
Hey, he might got more.
The expectation of what the Bills have done, like, this is going to be normal for them now. So that's just what I'm looking at is, like, the Bills are a great team, and, you know, they're proving everybody who felt like their favorites right. But at the same time, like, we're not going to deem them Super Bowl champs yet against the Titans. Like, we just won't do that in week 2, but they are playing well.
Yeah, no, they're playing really well, and they did what they were supposed to do. They dominated. They dominated the team they were supposed to dominate, and they look really good. And they got a big test next week against the Dolphins. That's going to be a fun game. That's going to tell a lot about you know. I know I'm high in the Dolphins. It's going to tell a lot for the Dolphins going to Buffalo and see how Tua is in that environment and it plays against that defense. You know, because they're going to come after
on top of
the division rivalry. So this could tell us a lot about these 2 teams going forward. But the Bills, man, they look really good so far. All right, let's talk about the other Monday night game. because that was ended up being a disappointment. And I don't know if you saw the guy that bet. I think he had bet $7, and he needed it was $7, and he needed the Vikings Eagles
Money
game
line.
to go over. No, he bet the Vikings money line and
the
the over 50. So he wound up losing, which I'd be sick to my stomach if that was the case, because that was the last leg of the parlay to hit like $250,000. So felt for that dude. But obviously, Kirk Cousins living up to his primetime failures again. 3 interceptions. Didn't have a good game. I know he had a lot of drops too. So with that, you get to put that in also. But he also did not look good at all. Justin Jefferson got locked up by Slay.
Well, he was in federal prison, 23-hour lockdown. And you want me to tell you where I know that stems from? You know what he said earlier in the week? I'm finna show Philly why they gonna regret not drafting me. And things came in full circle, right? Like Jalen Reagor got drafted by the Eagles over Justin Jefferson.
Oh, he got booed every time. Every time he went for a punt return, he got booed. Yeah.
Now Reagor is in Minnesota, right with Justin Jefferson. But here's the thing. Here's where I get weary about certain wide receivers talk. Bro, Darius Slay is a guy. He's a dude. And like, you don't fuel to the fire. Like if Darius Slay had came out, Justin Jefferson was quiet all week, and Darius Slay was like, oh, bro, Justin Jefferson gonna be on lockdown all week. Then I think like the roles are reversed. When 2 great players go against each other, what you don't do is add fuel to the fire. Like remember the week leading up to the opening kick of Rams and Bills, Jalen Ramsey, like the quote that he said about Josh Allen, I don't understand that pick. He's not really good. And like, what did he proceed to do? Like that thing popped back up on social media and these guys see it. What did he proceed to do? Torch Jalen Ramsey. I think he made it a point for Stephon Diggs to torch Jalen Ramsey in that game to bring back those old receipts. So it's one of those, like, I just sometimes, as great as you are, talk after, don't talk before. Like, don't add bulletin board material, which is a lot of what individual players do. And even coaches, when they say certain things, like, don't give great players bulletin board material. And
Exactly, man.
He did to Darius Slay, and he took it personal, and he had 2 interceptions. And when you really think about it, he dropped 3 other picks. Like, this man could
have. Yeah. He dropped a few in the end zone. Yeah.
He kind of, because the one he dropped, he turned around and intercepted it the next play. So it would have been 4, but on 4 other different drives, he had an opportunity for 2 more interceptions. So, like, this dude was, bro, he played lockdown defense. Darius Slay is, arguably one of the best, probably top 3 man-to-man corners in football. And it's a common theme that he does this all the time. But the one stat we have to talk about is, and our good friend Stu gets upset because like quarterback wins don't matter to some people. They do to some. Quarterbacks have to win, right? Like at the end of the day, nobody's going to say the best quarterback in football is the quarterback of the 7-10 team. Is it a full stat and is it fully their fault? No, but at the same time, like you're not going to deem me the team that missed the playoff has the best quarterback outside of underlying circumstances. Like there were so many injuries. What was he supposed to do? Patrick Mahomes goes 7-10 this year. Like you're pulling the best quarterback card if you haven't already for Josh Allen anyways. Kirk Cousins is 2-10 on Monday Night Football. I get it. Sometimes the defense doesn't play well. I get it. Sometimes the run game isn't there. Quarterbacks got to win you games. And it's one of those, like, I think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. I really do. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's in that top 15. I think that 12-13 range. I think you could argue like him, Dak, and a couple others in that conversation. So I value him as a good quarterback. Yep. But you can't go missing every time the lights are the brightest. And that's what he does. Like, they go to NFC title game with Case Keenum. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Kirk leaves Case Keenum. He steps up when it matters. Like, that was the problem with, like, Carson Wentz, and then Nick Foles was able to take this team to the Super Bowl. Like, we saw it with Philly, too, right? Like, you fade when the lights are the brightest. But being 2-10 on, 2 different teams, like, the theme here is pretty common that Kirk Cousins was the quarterback of those teams while going 2-10 on Monday Night Football. So, I'm just saying, like, I still think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. I'm not all out and he's trash and he's horrible and this and that. But at the same time, like, he's an above average guy that doesn't get it done when the lights are the brightest. And I think you have to point that out. Like, it's not all on him, but I mean, when you throw what did he throw? 3 interceptions yesterday? Like, on a primetime game, like, and it's not even the wins. in losses. Look at his numbers on primetime. Like, he plays below his average every time he plays on a primetime game. Kirk Cousins has never had an astounding game on primetime. He never has. Wow. So when you look at his average stats, he does not play well up to his average. So he plays below average for Kirk Cousins on primetime, Monday Night Football, however you want to look at it. So I do think that's something to look at, is when you shrink statistically and when you're not winning those games, like, that is a cause for concern, because if primetime Monday Night Football in week 2 is too bright of lights for you, then what am I expecting you to do in the playoffs? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, if I can't trust you on primetime games, what happens in the playoffs when every game's a primetime game, essentially? To get to the Super Bowl, you're playing primetime. So
it really matters.
That is I know stats can lie, right? Stats can lie and all that, but I'm sorry, this stat is kind of really telling. He is he's a solid core, but we see so many of these type of quarterbacks, right? And they're good, but are they a Super Bowl type of quarterback? And this team has had Super Bowl caliber teams that should have gone there. And I just 7-9, 8-8. He puts up 30. And Nicole had mentioned this in the chat, right? He had said, who's like the NBA equivalent? It's kind of like Bradley Beal. All stats, gets paid like a superstar. But at the end of the day, you're like, okay, you got the stats, you got the money, but you don't play no success in the playoffs at all. You're not making the playoffs, or you're not having any success in the playoffs.
But you know, it's
kind of what it is. Like, he's mid. He's mid. Like I said yesterday, he's mid.
He's better than mid. Because you want me to tell you the difference between him and Bradley Beal, though, is when have we ever looked at a Bradley Beal team and said that team can make a run in the playoffs? So I give Bill that benefit of the doubt. So it's more of an argument for Kirk Cousins. Is like, we've looked at, like, they have teams that can win. Like, they got, I mean, when you got
team can get to the Super Bowl. This is would you be surprised if the Vikings get to the Super Bowl? Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, no, especially when the NFC is kind of up for grabs to me. Like, the Rams have looked shaky through 2 weeks. We know the Bucks have issues. They're still 2-0, and they're probably the favorites to come out the NFC. We know the Packers have some issues on offense. So, like, if there was a time, and that's why people were picking the Vikings to win the NFC North, because, like, if there was a time for the NFC to be had, it would be this year. But then you look, and you're like, the way Philly's playing, Tampa's still finding a way. It doesn't matter who's on the injury report. They're finding a way to win games. We expect the Rams to turn it around. We know the Super Bowl hangover is a real thing, but Minnesota, they're 1-1 with a good win against the Packers, but the Packers did this last year and got blown out against the Saints, and then, you know, it didn't look as bad of a loss later on, or didn't look as good of a win for the Saints later on. And I think it's the same thing with the Vikings. Is like, it's not, I won't say Cousins is the problem. I mean, if you tell me, if I take Kirk Cousins off that team and put Patrick Mahomes, then yes, that's a different conversation. But Kirk Cousins isn't in that conversation. So I'm not sure if it's a Kirk Cousins problem as much as, like, I just think Minnesota just has bad luck. Like, I really just think they have bad luck, and it doesn't help that Cousins doesn't step up in the big moments. But it's not a Kirk Cousins problem unless you're telling me, like, oh, yeah, we'll replace him with Herbert, Allen, or Mahomes. Like, well, yeah, if we replace him with one of the top 5 quarterbacks, we could look at a lot of teams and take Mahomes off the Chiefs, and we could put him on the Cowboys, and we think they win the Super Bowl. Like, but we know, like, Dak and Kirk are not them. So you can't expect everybody to be Mahomes and Allen, but you do expect them to step up a little bit in big moments sometimes. Like, at some point, you got to have a couple playoff wins, maybe an NFC Championship appearance, some big games and bright moments like week 2, Monday Night Football, doubleheader, everybody's watching. Like, so even those small moments, you got to step up sometimes. Like, I'm not even asking him to be 10-2 in primetime football and average 4 touchdowns and 300 yards a game, but, like, be 6-6 and you've won some of those big games. Like, but it's just, I can't look at that and then think that he's going to step up in the playoffs and become a good quarterback like he is in the regular season. When the moments are the brightest, his numbers are always below his average that he does in those 12 other games throughout the regular season.
Yeah, and like still Knicks fans, and shout out to still Knicks fans for watching, and I appreciate you. He's so streaky. If the Vikings don't make a run in the playoffs, so they don't win the division, they should win the division. They're better than every team in that division. They should win the division.
Are they better than the Packers though?
I think they're better than the Packers. They now the Packers still have 12, right?
That's
I think,
what matters.
and that's what matters. But they should win. They are better than the Packers at almost every level except for the quarterback position, and that's the most important.
Defense.
I know that.
I'm taking the Packers defense too.
The Packers defense is probably a little bit better, but if they don't make a run in the playoffs this year, and Kirk does what Kirk does in big time games, I'm sorry, you gotta change something there.
Yeah,
you gotta change something.
But my only thing is, how do you move on when you're saying like, because you're saying like they have a win now roster, right? Like they could win something, they could
win the Super Bowl,
they could go to the NFC Championship game. So you can't like move off of Kirk for a rookie quarterback because then you set that win now roster back, right? So it's like you're kind of in that Cowboys predicament. Like, okay, we got a lot of players on both sides of the ball. We love what we got. If quarterback's the problem, what do we do? Because like any guy that we get, probably we won't upgrade from Kirk Cousins right away. But if we downgrade for the future, then we end up taking a step back with a lot of this talent on the team. So I feel like the Vikings and Cowboys are in a very similar situation right now. It's like
they're both in a tough spot.
Yeah, you see the talent, and maybe you feel like their quarterback's not good enough to get it done, but you know you're not going to. Dak is a top 10 to 12. Kirk Cousins top 10 to 12, 13, however you want to look at it. You're not going to upgrade when you have a top 10 to 12 quarterback, like, or it's going to cost you your future to upgrade there, and it has to be an unhappy player. And I'm sure everybody would possibly point to if the Ravens don't pay Lamar Jackson, he could be had, but the price for Lamar Jackson, which you're going to have to give up, is going to be even more than what they gave up for Deshaun Watson. So I'm just saying, like, you're not really going to upgrade there, so you're at a tricky spot, and then you kind of press the reset button, and it's just a little, it's tricky. Like, you're stuck in the middle, and you don't see a way.
You don't want to be there.
But you don't want to be at the bottom. Like, that's where both teams are at. They're stuck in the middle. You don't see them reaching the top, but then you don't think they're bad enough where they just need to press the reset button. Like, they're both teams that could probably get to the playoffs in first-round exits. Like, with Dak healthy, like, you're like, Cowboys are a playoff team, first-round exit. Maybe not win the NFC East. Probably doesn't look likely now with Dak being out, and obviously, you know, Jalen Hurts and Philly looking so good, but you're like, they could make the playoffs as a wild card, and then they lose in the first round. And that's kind of their ceiling right now. You don't see it any different. But if we reset with a quarterback, like, you're like, you got all this talent and you're starting over. Like, and so it's just being stuck in the middle is not a place you want to be. But I think that's where the Minnesota Vikings are right now.
Yep. And like I said, they're going to figure stuff out. I still think this team can make a run, but it all comes down to Kirky. Kirky's got to do something. He's got to live up. He's got to live up because I think I felt like this is, if it doesn't happen this year, then when the hell is it going to happen for the Vikings? Like, when is it going to happen for them? And this was and we saw a lot from the Eagles, and we didn't really talk about the Eagles that much, but Jalen Hurts looks good. He looks good so far. I
hate to say it, but I'm rooting for Jalen Hurts. Like, not to beat the Cowboys.
His story is crazy though. His story, like Bama, like the whole thing with Bama and like him being benched in the national championship game, like for Tua, and like people like him then going to Oklahoma, and like people
his career,
questioning
his draft stock.
Like, I didn't think he would be an NFL quarterback. I thought he was just he's a really good college quarterback. Doesn't have the arm and all that. He doesn't have the tools. Maybe he'll, be like a gadget type quarterback in the NFL. He's proven a lot of people wrong.
You know what he has though? He has what we don't see all the time, and it is like that dog in him. But he works hard, like, and he hears all the noise, and it's fuel to the fire for him, and so he works. Jalen Hurts has put on some pounds muscle wise, like he's gotten bigger. He's got a little bit stronger arm. You could tell he's worked on his accuracy. You could tell when they brought AJ Brown in, like, I'm sure they hit the field right away. Like, it was huge, but you could tell they have a connection. Like, he hit the field right away. Like, we're gonna make this work. You look at how they've put, and Philly has done what you're supposed to do. If you don't fully trust your quarterback going into the season, but you're trying to see if he's that guy, Philly and Miami did it right. Yeah. Put all the pieces around him that he needs, and if he still doesn't succeed, then he's not our guy, and we figure out another plan. And right now, Both of those
100%.
teams are 2-0. They got good defenses. They have the weapons that you need. And now it's all on Tua and it's all on Jalen Hurts. And through 2 weeks, both of them have answered the call because they're both sitting at 2-0. They both have had at least one outstanding offensive performance. Jalen Hurts has had 2. I think Tua played good enough in the Patriots game, and he played obviously out of his mind against the Ravens. But when you don't trust your guy and you're trying to see if you have your guy, you don't tell him, hey, put it on your shoulders and we'll see what you do without putting all the pieces around him. They got 2 quality receivers. They got a good running back room. Like both teams, they had changed the coaching. Like they did a lot of things and you're like, let's see what you do. And right now through 2 weeks, both of those guys are answering the call. So when you want to see what you really got at quarterback, that's what you do. And that's what they've done. And I got to salute Jalen Hurts. I hate it because he plays for Philly, but look, like good players are good players, great players are great players. And I love watching good football at the end of the day. And right now that's what Jalen Hurts is giving us. And at the end of the day, no matter how shaky and how much I'm still not fully all in on Tua, like, hey, he played a great game at the end of the day. There's still some concerns if I'm really nitpicking, and that's what I was doing. I'm still nitpicking. Like one of those Tyreek Hill touchdowns was underthrown. But at the end of the day, when you look back, it was a touchdown. He came back. He won the game. I'm nitpicking for the simple fact, like you are looking at Tua and you are looking at Jalen Hurts as franchise quarterbacks, as guys that are about to get these 5-year long-term deals. Maybe not the Russell Wilson kind of money, but you're going to pay them enough to where they're going to eat up your salary cap. And like, do you see that progression where 5 years from now that still remains a good decision? So that's why I'm nitpicking both. But Jalen Hurts is getting better every year. And I still don't think he's hit his ceiling. So if he's going to keep improving every year, he's going to hit like that Josh Allen, where Josh Allen improved every year. Now we think he's at his peak. We think he's going to play this way for the next 10 to 12 years. The expectation is to play at this level for the next 10 to 12 years, keep the Bills a viable franchise. I think Jalen Hurts could do that with Philly. I really think they can.
He looked good. He made sure to distribute the ball to his 3 best receivers. They all had, I think, 5 or 6 catches each. So he was looking for his weapons, and he looks good. He looks good. Yeah, and I still think Tyreek Hill's still open right now as we speak, because the Ravens secondary. I mean they couldn't cover a cold. Like it was just that bad. Like to that factored in too. Why? But Tua took advantage of that, and he made some plays.
He did what he needed to do. They gave it to him, and he took advantage of it.
Yeah.
So you can never be mad.
Yeah, the Ravens. I don't know what happened there. That was as bad as a collapse as you can have.
Lamar can't play like that, and you lose a game. Just can't happen.
And I remember just
lose a game.
I remember just watching Lamar. I'm like, this might be the best, like pure quarterback play he has played in the NFL. Like he was like, and I'm not one of those guys. Oh, he has to play from the pocket, but at times you do have to play from the pocket, right? You can't just always be scrambling and try to do that, which is good and bad. He looked poised and calm in the pocket, and I'm like, oh, they're going to rout the Dolphins. Like they might win 45-3. Like it looked like it was going to be that type of game. And it just went south quick. The defense, I don't know what happened to the defense. They just went downhill quick. But
you know what they don't like? Real quick, you know what they don't like about Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson? They're not your conventional quarterback. They're just ballers. They just know how to play football. They are just great football players. Like they know how to make whatever play, whether it's with their legs, with their arms. Okay. They don't have the cannon. First off, Lamar Jackson has a strong arm. Now, is he strong and accurate down the field?
He's not strong and accurate. Yes,
he's not. But neither was Michael Vick. And Michael Vick was just a baller. Like you just put the ball in his hands, and I know you'll make a play. And that's what Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts are. And so, if you're evaluating them as conventional quarterback, they have to do it from the pocket. Like, but no, they don't. They're just ballers. They know how to make the play when you need them to make the play. And so that's why I say, like, Lamar Jackson go get the bag. He's chasing the bag, and you can tell he's playing like it. Jalen Hurts gonna get a nice little bag too. He probably won't be the cream of the crop paid, but he's gonna get a nice little bag too. He's chasing it. He's working hard, and they're just ballers, and they have something that you can't teach. It's just instinct. They just know how to play football, and they can throw the ball. Like they are just. Not only are they really good quarterbacks, they're great football players. And sometimes you don't necessarily need a great quarterback. You just need a guy who he could throw the ball. He has an elite arm or whatever, but he's just a great football player. He'll make whatever play you need, whether it's just with his legs or his arm. And That's all you can ask for. Make plays and win games. That's all you can ask
it. That's it. And that's what they do. So the Eagles took care of business 24-7. The Bills took care of business 41-7, looking like arguably the best team in football. Some impressive performances on Monday Night Football. All right, Mo, let's flip it over to the National Basketball Association. And there's been some headlines of late. And I want to go with this first. And this is kind of a big deal, this news. And so Shams reported that the NBA discussing with CBA and it's going to happen, that they're going to drop the age requirement to enter the NBA draft from 19 to 18, which means high school kids will be able to declare for the NBA draft once again. It hasn't happened since, I believe, 2005 or 6. It's one of those years.
Didn't Dwight Howard, wasn't Dwight Howard the last one?
I think it was Dwight Howard is 04.
He was the year after LeBron, right?
He was the year after LeBron. So 05, I forgot who was. I think that was the year where there was a bunch of Lou Williams was in that draft. Monte Ellis. Yeah. So I forgot who was the first. There was I think Martell Webster was like the first round pick that year. I could be wrong, but so we're gonna have high school kids back eligible for the draft, and that's kind of huge. It's huge news. Like I said, it hasn't happened in almost, we're almost talking about 18 years. So your initial thoughts when you heard that we're going to have high school kids back in eligible for the draft. I'll give you my take quick. I like it, and then I don't like it. I don't like it because I don't like it because kids won't be able to. I just feel like there's only 60 picks. And I know the NBA is at a different place than it was in the 2000s and 90s as far as development, right? We have the G League now. We have different avenues where guys can grow that we didn't really have in those early 2000s, or in the 90s, especially when you had guys like Kobe, Garnett, Jermaine O'Neal didn't play for 4 years. He rotted on the bench, because they just no, you're 17, ill, you ain't playing, you got to be grown. So, and that wouldn't happen now. So I think it's good in that way. But I just worry that in the era we live in now, the social media era, where everyone thinks they get all these clicks on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, that everyone thinks that they can make it. And we're going to get an abundance of kids that are going to declare for the draft, and they just ain't ready. And then when they don't hear their name being called in those first 2 rounds, or even if they hear the name in the second round, because if you get a second round, now that's a fight. That's a fight in itself. This is a non-guaranteed contract, and you can get cut, and that's it. So that's my worry, is that we're going to see so many kids declare for the draft. And like I said, there's only 30 first-round picks, 30 second round, only 60 picks. There's only so many guys that can get, and we're forgetting the kids in college and kids overseas. The guys overseas is no longer the case where we're talking about overseas guys. I don't know if that guy's gonna make. No, the overseas guys they're coming in. We've seen it. Look at the international talent we have in the league. It's wild how much international talent we have. So those guys aren't bust anymore. Those aren't as risky as they were maybe 10, 15 years ago. They're stars. They're are the best players in the league. The best player in the league is not from the States. The MVP is not from the state. The back-to-back MVP is not from the States. The last 4 MVPs, Giannis and they're not from the States. Luka might be the MVP this year. We might have 5 straight years where a guy's not from the States and is an MVP. So that's my thing, is I worry about. I love it because the NBA is ready for it, to have more younger players in the league, and ready for those high school kids and development with the G League and all that. But I worry that so many kids are going to think they're going to be a first round pick and all that. And then they're going to get screwed when they don't hear their names. And then now that journey, they were the man. 5-star. They're this, ball is life, all this overtime. So that's what I worry about, is there's only 60 picks when they don't hear their names. Now what happens then? And That's the thing. We're gonna get so many kids declare, and I think that could be a little troublesome, and the NBA is gonna have to figure something out with that. But your thoughts when you heard about this?
So let me ask you: was Zion NBA ready coming out of high school?
If Zion declared out of high school, he would not have been the number one pick. I think he benefited from going. I think he would have been a top 5 pick, definitely top 5 pick out of high school. But I don't think he's enough. I think him going to Duke for that 1 year helped his brand.
Yeah, but I think him going
made him the number 1 pick.
I think him going to Duke getting hurt though had already raised those concerns of, he got hurt. Now he played great. Don't get me wrong. Zion was a great player when he was on the court, and we're not going to talk about his injuries in the NBA. I think he even still to be a top 5 pick coming out of high school. All right, you sacrifice being number 1. So what? You're still a top 5 pick. You still going to get that money. You still going to be eligible if you do what you do the first 3 years or whatever to get that rookie max extension when you're up. I look at all the high school players who have been superstars, Hall of Famers, right? Like LeBron and Kobe and Garnett. I personally think Dwight Howard probably is a Hall of Famer. My opinion, you can argue it. I think Carmelo would have been the number 1 pick had he not went to college, because think about it, like when he comes out of high school, he goes to college for the 1 year and he comes out the same year as LeBron James. So like I think Melo might have been the number 1 pick.
Well, he would have came out. Melo would have came out in 2002 because he's a year older. So
yeah, he would have came out.
That's the Yao Ming draft. I don't think he goes number 1 over Yao. I think Yao was going to be number 1. So but he goes number 2. He probably goes number 2 to Chicago. Yeah.
But when I look at being, I think it's good because like you said, there's a lot of avenues to develop guys. So I could take a guy, take him top 5 or whatever, and then I still have plenty of ways to develop them. But here's my thing is the one and done rule, right? We send these projected superstar guys, this guy like Zion, we send him to school for a year. You heard it with like Ben Simmons, right? You remember Ben Simmons was like, I didn't go to class. Like for what? I knew I was here to play ball. I knew I wasn't, the first semester wasn't even going to matter. I wasn't going to become ineligible until my second year because the first semester wasn't going to matter. I didn't go to class. Why? Because I'm going to the NBA. So like, I also feel like these guys waste their time. Some guys waste their time going to college. Like imagine telling Zion, like you need to be in the front of all your classes, wearing a suit, like the Coach Carter approach of you need to be a great student athlete, knowing that like, bro, I'm just here because I have to be. Now, if he was a great student, shout out to him. I mean, I'm not knocking him if he is a great student, but I'm just saying like those RJ Barretts, like, I don't know if RJ Barrett was ready either, but I'm just saying, like, you knew he was a one and done. You kind of knew Cam Reddish, like, you knew those 3 were coming in together and they were all going to be one and dones. Could we argue that Cam should have stayed another year? Yes, but like those one and done guys, one of those, Zion probably goes straight to the league. So I just feel like some guys go to college and waste their time. They play through the basketball season, they do what they do, and then they get ready for the draft. They're not even going to school anymore. So I think it prevents a little bit of that on top of some of those like fringe first rounders, right? Like, you wait a year, like now you're the one and done guy, but that top 5 pick, he done went a year before you. So now he gets drafted. So now you're like the 15th, 16th guy, but 3 or 4 of those guys that went to the draft early, fresh out of high school. You go to college, you're now a one and done impressive guy. Now you go from maybe 15 to a top 5 pick if you have a hell of a year in college. Like I think it wipes some of those prospects out. And those guys, those very few guys that probably could make that jump, they try and make that jump early. And then it raises the stock of like that guy that you have mocked at 15 because all these guys are going to come out in the same year. Now 5 of those guys aren't coming out. Now that changes how you look. Now his stock can rise. Like he goes from 15 to 10 just because 5 of your first top 5 picks are out the window on your mock draft, right? So I think there's always benefits and there's always plus and minuses, but I'm more so focused on the plus. And then how smart these athletes are, how much the NBA and the routes that you have of money management and all these vets are sharing game and this and that. So like, I'm not worried about it. What's the difference between an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old given $10 million? To me, there's not really a difference at that point. And so there's so many avenues for you to be a safe haven. Are there going to be busts? Yes, there's busts who are one and done. There's busts who go 3 years and we have them going in the first round and they do nothing. So you're not going to prevent that regardless of what you do. You can make every player go to school for 4 years. Like we could do that and it's still going to be some busts. Oh, maturity, growth, whatever. But I just think some guys are ready, fresh out of high school. And we're about to see. But real quick, my only thing is ain't it kind of funny? This is a discussion now that Bronny and Bryce about to be in the league, and LeBron said he want to play with both his sons. Like, ain't it a little funny?
It pushes it a year earlier now. Yeah, and it does.
Did you not think about? Like, it's a little funny that this is now really entertained. We know we talked about it for years, and we even projected that it would happen around this time, like probably 3-4 years ago. People like, it'll happen. Bronny might be able to go. Like, we just figured, but I'm like, it's kind of funny that it's definitely going to be in fruition is what it seems like, but it don't seem like it'll be till 2024. So Bronny will have to go for a year, what it seems like right now. But you know who won't? Bryce. Bryce could come out of high school. Bryce could go play with Bronny and LeBron wherever they at, whether it's OKC. You know, LeBron's a free agent after 2024. Like, I'm just saying, it's just a little fishy that we let guys out of high school. I don't have a problem with it. Hey, shout out to Bron. You know what I'm saying? If that's the key instigator of this conversation, but it's just a little funny that, you know, he still has that kind of power, because I really believe they do have. I think he was in the NBA's ear a little bit. Hey, man, look, even some of these guys are ready, but man, look how much money I can bring you if you give me an opportunity in year 23. If I'm still, even if Bron just averaging 19 points a game, like, I'm still averaging 19. I got both of my sons, man. We gonna sell out arenas playing at OKC with all three, the James gang playing in the NBA. So I just think it's a little funny. That's all.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy how it just happens when, you know, Bronny's in his senior year, so he would actually be.
He would have to go.
He still has to go to a year, and I think so far it's with Oregon, Ohio State.
You know where he's going. He going to Ohio State. You know where
he's going. He's going
to Oregon. He's going to one of those, because I think Phil Knight going to have a nice little.
I think Oregon has a shot because of the relationship LeBron has with Phil Knight, and Phil Knight obviously went to Oregon and all that, and Oregon is where Nike headquarters is. So that does matter, but the Ohio State thing is a real thing. So I think it's going to come down to Ohio State. I don't know if Duke's going to be in it. I think Duke is. I don't think Bronny is a Duke level. Now they do get like the 4 stars. Now they do get those like 4 stars guys, and Bronny's kind of in that like high 3-4 star type of recruit. So he could, but I think the guys they're getting, he could get lost in the shuffle going to Duke, because they're getting the cream of the crop. Like, they're getting the top of the top. So he could get lost until he'll go to Oregon or Ohio State. He might be better off. Because he'll get to play. I think he'll get to play more going those.
Bronny and all I'm saying, obviously I'm an Ohio State fan.
And then Bryce, Bryce might be the 5-star.
He's going out of high school.
I think he might be the dude that's going straight.
Yeah, he's going out of high school. If they allow this, he's come the next year, he's going out of high school. But here's my thing with and I think Oregon will have more money up front, right? Like, Phil Knight could give him a Nike deal, a shoe deal, You know, LeBron James is a lifetime Nike contract, $1 billion. We get it. But like with college athletes now being paid, and I think LeBron knows this, bro, what do you think LeBron's son in Columbus, Ohio, what kind of money and deals do you think would be available to him to join the Scarlet and Gray? With NIL now being a thing, I know Oregon would have more money in the deal, I think, up front. But Bronny in Columbus, Ohio, LeBron backing him and everything, LeBron will drop a Nike shoe and call them the Bronnies, like, and it'll be Scarlet and Gray. LeBron go fund that Ohio State. He already does. He's gotten them jerseys. You know what I'm saying? He's gotten them team shoes. Like, LeBron has said it early in his career, and we clearly have seen it. If he had to go to college for a year, he would have went to Ohio State. You think
that's true? You think it was Ohio? I've always felt like he would have went to Duke.
He would go to Duke and play for Coach K, but I really think at that time, that's the only school that would have been able to snag him away. But with Duke, him having said, like, I would play at Ohio, I was going to go to Ohio State if I had to go to school. I look at it like this, bro, just look at how big time Ohio State fan he is. He's from Ohio. That would have remained his state. Then he would have went to Ohio State and then be a Cleveland Cav, like just the possibilities of how big time that is. Like, I do think he would have. I mean, the dude is a huge Ohio State fan. He's at every Ohio State game that he can be. You remember he brought the Cleveland Cavs team that one year. He had Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith and Kyrie Irving on the sideline in Ohio State gear. Like, he was at the Notre Dame game. Just think about it. We used LeBron James as a pitch, and we brought 10 5-stars and 15 4-stars on the sideline and let them go sit around LeBron James and Jason Tatum. What do you think Ohio State was doing with football? They called LeBron up, said, can you come to this home game against Notre Dame? We got a bunch of recruits.
Is he a booster? Is he a booster?
Probably underlying. Like, he's probably an underlying booster. I mean, he did give the basketball team shoes. Like, so he does, he did pay for one of the jerseys. Like, so he does give back to Ohio State, even though he never went. Like, I really believe that's where he would have been. So, I mean, you just see it. I mean, they took, like I said, we got 10 5-stars. We had a couple guys who had decommitted from their colleges, came to that game, and we just put them around LeBron James. Jason Tatum was there for some weird reason. I didn't know he was an Ohio State fan. I know him and Zeke was cool growing up and all that, but he wore an Ohio State jersey, so that threw me off a little bit.
He threw. Oh God. Well,
yeah, he wore an Ohio State jersey. He was on the sideline with LeBron and he wore an Ohio State jersey. Then we brought Joe Burrow out. Joe Burrow brought some guys out. Like, so we did all that, and then we took all the 5-stars and said, here, you get to be on the sideline with all these superstars.
That's a great recruiting tool to use. Just, hey, LeBron James is right there. Like, you could see this every week.
All the recruits took pictures with LeBron. The 5-star guys who decommitted took pictures with LeBron. I'm like, bro, you got to think about it. These kids are 18. Like, this is their idol. This is their hero. Like, so we just, smart recruiting pitch. I thought that was
it is. And that's going to be interesting to see because Bronny is a senior this year, but he'll still have to go to college for a year because this rule won't get implemented till the 24 draft. So, but it's going to be interesting to see how many kids, because there's the talent, the amount of talent, and I think veterans, NBA vets, like guys are in their 30s, and we've seen this right now, like like the Lou Will types, those type of players. The guys like in the 30 to 33 range that are, not the guys anymore, but they can still contribute. I think we might slowly seeing those guys getting faded away. And I think that's an issue because that could be an issue because you still need vets because we see all these young teams, right? We've seen Orlando. We've seen the Pelicans are a young team. The Thunder, young team. Like, they have all the talent, but they need those vets to be like, to show them how the NBA runs, how it works. You still need those guys.
Like, the vets aren't who are on their way out the league. Like, at the same time, the vets are chasing chips. Like, a Lou Will would want to tag along with, Phoenix or Dallas or something. Like, I don't want to go to Orlando and spend a year like really developing these young guys. Like, he will if he had to in order to have, but obviously he's out the league. But I'm just saying, like, they're also, as they get older, like, these guys are getting as much money as they can, and then like at the point where they're kind of canned goods, they're chasing chips, and they're like, all right, this is my last year or two. Like, I'm gonna play and get that final championship that I never got, or at least have an opportunity to get a championship. So at the same time as you're running them out, like, there's not a lot of vets starving to go play for OKC and be that leader for them and help those guys out. Like, they're like, no, I'm at the tail end of my career. I want to win a championship. We are in like chasing championships at the end of your career to validate your legacy kind of thing. Like, Dwight Howard goes to the Lakers, wins a bubble chip, say what you want about it, but like, he adds that championship on his resume. So when it's all said and done, we get to talk about Dwight Howard and we call him an NBA champion, but he wouldn't get to do that if he's like, oh, I see a young big man over there in OKC. I'm going to train him up and kind of pass down my knowledge. But they all work out together in the offseason. They take these guys under their wings. So, like, even though you don't necessarily have that in-season guy to get them right, like, they all kick it and work out and this and that in the offseason. So I think there's enough mixture of putting these young guys around vets that's making it where it'll be fine anyway. But, yeah, they might start getting, I guess, blackball. Like, the NBA is going younger. So, like, there's no room for you. But at the same time, like, by that time, like, where you're getting blackball, like, you're 35, 36 years old. Like, everybody isn't going to be Steph and Bron and Chris Paul at 35, 36, 37 years old, where we're seeing these guys being able to be key pieces, viable pieces, or top 5 players in the league, leading their teams to championships. I think careers are lasting longer, but at the same time, like, do you really care if we're not signing a 35-year-old Lou Williams? Like, you know what I'm saying? Do you really care if certain players, when they hit that age, like, they're just kind of done. Like, not for the elite guys of Chris Paul, who we see, I think he's on a decline, but like Steph, how many times are we going to see a guy like Steph? Like, do we expect a comparison for Steph? Do you expect Trae Young to be that great at 34? Like, I don't. He might be, but I don't. Like, I'm not going to lay the Steph Curry expectation of you're playing great and winning a championship at 34 years old to validate your career. Like, there's just some dudes who are different, but most of those guys at 34, 35, 36, 37 years old, their career is done. I mean, look at Udonis Haslem. We ready for his ass to be out the league. Like,
we should do a podcast on how Udonis Haslem hasn't done anything in 8 years.
For the past 5 years, like we've been
8 years. He has not played more than like 10 minutes.
Like, at least 5. At least the past 5 years,
the last like 5, yeah.
15, we're like, all right, dude, like
retired,
yeah, bro. Like you're in year 21, LeBron's in year 21.
In that situation, I'd rather have one of these young kids that don't get drafted and use that spot to develop that 18-year-old than having you die. And as I said, it is important to have guys like that, but you also, I need you to play though. Like, it's one thing to just be a guy, but I need you to play too. Like, you can contribute, and because that helps. But Udonis has them, year 20 and all that. But we'll see what happens. This is obviously a big rule, and that's going to change a lot of. It's going to change recruiting, how teams recruit, because you might not be going after those top 5 guys coming out because you're just not even going to bother because they're going to go to the league. So that changes recruiting big time. So now we're going to see you're going to hear more about those lower tier, like those 4 stars, 3 stars, a lot more, because more teams are going to go after those guys more than those top tier guys who are probably just going to go pro and not even bother, So but I still think college is still, because listen, now there's NIL. So if you test the waters, I think a lot of kids should. So now we got NIL. So now that's a difference between now and back then. There was no NIL back then. So you go to college, you ain't making money, and now like, damn man, I could have just went pro.
But you are making money, so it's a little bit different. I don't think as many people will go at first as you think. Like it'll be obviously more than one, but I don't think as many people go because, like, yes, you could be giving up the bag, but like if you're a guy who, like, you're a 5-star, but because the previous one and done, like going into 2024, like you'll have one and done players. So like if you're coming out of high school and you're competing against those one and dones, like you could be a 5-star, the number 1 player in the country, but like there were some 10 standouts for one and done in college, and like those are the projected top 10 picks. So now you're like 11 or 12. Like, I'm gonna go to college for a year. I'm gonna make $2 to $3 million. I'm still getting paid. I'll go. You know what I'm saying? But at the same, like, there's money involved in college now. I don't think it'll weed out as many guys going as you think.
You know what?
I think
what? You're right. I think I changed my own mind a lot about that. Like, I didn't factor in NIL at first, but I think maybe we won't get as much as I'm thinking. Maybe I'm thinking we might get so many guys, but now that there's NIL, if you do put your name in, let's say you put your name in the draft and you're getting, and you go to the NBA draft board and you try to get your eval on like where you think you're going to go. If you're, let's say you're a 2nd round pick, I don't want to go through that. Let me go to college for a year. I'm going to make $100K, whatever, make 6 figures in NIL. If I have a name, because a lot of these kids are already brands already. So go in, let me go for a year. I go from a 2nd round pick to maybe being a lotto pick. I'd rather do that and get the guaranteed contract. To me, the goal, 1st round pick. Be a 1st round pick so you get that guaranteed. Because if you go in the 2nd round, I'd rather just go undrafted than being a 2nd round pick.
Yeah, and you could go and get paid in college. Like, and then now that NIL is progressing with less of like, we're trying to pull all these star players for $3-4 million. Like, there's NIL, like schools are starting to develop NIL collective deals. So like, guaranteed, whether you're the best player or not, you're guaranteed to make $50,000 a year over here. Like, guaranteed. And then you could go and get your own deals. So like, obviously, like Ohio State has an NIL collective where they're expected to bring in X amount of millions of dollars, and everybody gets this, and this is the set price. And then you're like, okay, but CJ Stroud, go get your own deals. You can get paid as much as whatever. Smith the Jigba going, you know what I'm saying? The same type of thing. But like, they're also guaranteeing at least a price of money. We're like, all right, I'm going to college for a few months. I make $50,000 at the least. And then, you know, the money's going to go up as NIL progresses and people start to really understand it and things like that. Like, it's going to go up. So NIL is going to progress college sports regardless, including basketball. Like, I do think it's going to make, because you're going to be able to brand these kids a lot more now. Like, they be able to, that superstar player, that Zion from Duke, can now be in a whole bunch of commercials. Maybe can have a shoe deal, can sign
Mikey
with Puma,
Williams.
Yeah,
Mikey
you know,
Williams, man. He's making.
He was just on the I Am Athlete podcast. Like, this is a high school athlete that they're picking his brain because, like,
he's gonna be interesting. He's gonna be interesting to what he because I feel like he's been in high school for like 7 years already. So it's like I wonder what he's gonna do. I think he's a senior. He should be because he's been in high school forever. I feel like he's been. I've seen him on Ball his life for the last 5 years. It feels like so. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see, and I'm excited about this because we're just going to see more talent in early, and it's going to be interesting to see how teams go. We might see more tanking too. We might see a lot more tanking.
Just think about it. If guys could be in the league right now, like at 18, like isn't Victor Wembanyama? Isn't he?
He would have been eligible this year.
Been drafted eligible. Scoot
and that would have been if Scoot and Victor were eligible. I think Victor goes. Man, that's tough. I really like Paolo. I think Paolo's going to be a star.
He may not go number 1, but he would have went top 5 for sure. Like, I think he would have went.
Paolo?
No,
Wembanyama. I think Vic goes 2. I think.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Paolo was the pick there.
I think Paolo was the right pick.
Yeah, and you look at his frame, he was the guy. But Scoot might go top 5.
Scoot might have been 2. Scoot is like D Wade, like he is.
That's what I'm saying. So like, you look at the guys who could have been in the draft this year, and those two, like I'll point out because those are the consensus top 2 picks. Coming into this year. So like, those guys are both probably going top 5. You're arguing which one of them 2 goes number 2, which means we probably could make a case one of them go number 3. Yeah. Obviously, depending on I forget the draft order, but. Obviously, depending on team need, but like
Houston was 3.
So Houston they still probably take Jabari, but like, does Detroit take Scoot over Jay Knight?
I think Jabari probably drops the most. I think that's, but it's good. It's going to change evaluations.
They didn't really need a guard, so it's an argument there. But even still, like Jaden Ivey not go, and it's Scoot that goes to Detroit. Now Jaden Ivey drops 7, so that's. Yeah. That's where it gets shaky. And you look at these 2 or 3 superstars every year that you're like, they're wasting their time going to play one and done. Like, they're just there. And sometimes you don't even see the full effort in games because you know they're just there. Like, and winning a national championship isn't the ultimate goal for them. Like, I'm sure they'd love to, but they're like, bro, I'm going to the league. Like, this is just a bypass for me here. If I can win something, cool. But if not, like, you've also seen a lot of schools that do one and done ain't winning national championships either. They might go, they might Final Four.
The Zion Cam RJ team that didn't win a national championship. Now it's worked in the past for Duke. They've had one in the year they had.
You have them, but it happens. The rate that you thought.
It doesn't happen a lot, but it might. We might be more invested in our teams because now we're going to have those guys for maybe 2-3 years where we're just like constant, being a Duke fan. It's like, all right, I got to learn these whole new crop of guys again. So that's going to be, it might benefit college too. I think it's a win. I think it's a win overall for the NBA, for college, especially with NIL now. Thank God NIL is around now. So that helps. So maybe we won't get as many guys in the league, but it's going to be a good thing, and I'm excited for when this happens and all that. I was going to talk about one more thing with Robert Sarver, but we don't have to dive into that. But we talked long enough. But we talk good things. We talk, that's crazy. It's crazy how that, and we'll talk about that on another show. We'll bring that up. We'll have more time to talk about that. But we talked a lot. We talked about Monday night games, talked about the rule changes in the NBA. So. That's gonna end it for OTBN 365. We're gonna be back tomorrow to talk to more about whatever's going on in the world of sports. Mo, before we sign off, thanks for coming on. Thanks for hopping on me for this hour. Promote what you got to promote, brother.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at Mo_Cheese15, at Up in Flames Pod on Instagram. I'm probably about to record a little bit later here today, talking college football, NFL. I've been recording a lot, just not on my own show. Check out Jeff's show where we did the college football review. Check out Friday Night Lights every Friday with me and Walker, where we get you ready for all the games Saturday. Check out See You Sunday on Saturday, where we get you ready for all the games Sunday. And then we'll talk about the next Thursday night matchup. Check out Overreaction Monday, because we'll overreact to all the crap that happens. Like if we have a crazy weekend like this past Sunday, So just check out all the shows. It's football's in full effect. And then when you really think about it, just getting everybody ready for Off the Ball Network, like Ken's about to, like, he's going crazy with the betting, but he really is about to, because he's
people money, man.
He's going to have betting plays and everything with basketball, football. He's going to have something for you daily where he doesn't even feel uncomfortable with throwing out that bet. So check out OTBN Bets. Make sure you check out Competitive Hedge, Jeff Needs Sports. Check out the Hoopers, because I know they're about to kick up their content. Check out Francis and his podcast. Check out Knicks Fans Wildin'. I know they about to be tripping this year with the hope of the Knicks being pretty good. So I know they about to be tripping. They about to be wilding this year on their show. So check out What the Game Means to Me. They covering football. Dad dropping his player rankings every week. Check out Stu, Morning Brew with Stu. Listen, you want to hear hot takes, you want to hear some crazy stuff, but with some substance. I love my man Stu. He sticks to his guns. Make sure you check out that show. He's had some great interviews, some great topics. He's not in a great mood right now because the Colts ain't good, but he's going to be okay because he's still going to give you quality content. So check out everybody putting in work at Off the Ball Network. I can't stress that enough. This is the season right here. When football starts and it merges into basketball, this is when we go crazy. Every year, you got somebody putting out some everyday articles. Pat with his articles every week, getting you ready for fantasy football and this and that. Man, we got so much going on, bro. So just make sure you go to offtheballnetwork.com. Check out our page. Check out everybody on the network. Go give their show a listen, a like, a review, subscribe. Do everything you can to support Off the Ball Network, because we said 2022 was our year, and 2022 isn't over. Really, for us covering sports, being mainly football and basketball, is just beginning. So make sure you check that out. Chris, as always, I love doing shows with you, bro.
Yes, sir. And I think I lost you for a second there, but we're back. Yeah, we got to if you're watching on YouTube, we had a few people chime in on YouTube. So appreciate everyone who chimed on YouTube. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. We're trying to get to 300. I want to get to 300 hopefully before the month ends, but I want to get to 300. Our goal is to get to at least 400 or 500 by the end of the year. I think we can make this happen. We're putting out more and more content, by the day. I have more time, which is a beautiful thing. I'm back to my regular routine. I know people, you probably like, man, I haven't seen a lot of Chris the last year and all that. I was working overnights. It was a killer. Doing that, I wasn't able to put out the content I want, but I'm back and I'm excited to pull out more content. I'm working on my Sebastian Telfair high school doc that should be coming out this week. So stay tuned. Follow me, Off the Ball Pod. Follow OTB _network. Follow Mo Cheese. Follow Solo Cup Mo. Follow everyone at the network. We got a lot of dope stuff coming. We're growing and growing. Make sure to go offtheballnetwork.com. I just dropped my top, with the new rule, the NBA, changing the rule from 1918 high school. I just dropped about a few days ago my top 20 high school to NBA players. So make sure to check that out, offtheballnetwork.com. But on that note, be well, be safe, take care. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe to everything Off the Ball Network. Follow all the great individuals at Off the Ball Network. And we'll be back tomorrow for another OTBN 365. All right. Be well. Mo's got a show coming up today. Make sure to check out everything today. So we got a lot of great stuff. So be well, be safe. Take care, guys.